Hey y'all, it's Shalonda with Sugar Boutique, your resident teacher, fashionista, and boutique owner. So I'm coming back tonight, y'all, with another video. Y'all, when I first had started my channel a while back, I had started this education series because obviously y'all know I'm a teacher. And I just never kind of went back to it. I was just new to YouTube and y'all, I was just trying to figure things out. And I realized like I have this series about like working at, or a video about working at an alternative school, and I just wanted to do some follow-up videos in relation to that video, and also in relation to education in general. So y'all, I wanted to come tonight and talk about what are some of the differences between an alternative school and a typical high school. So before I get started and saying some of the differences and some of the similarities, I do want to always give a caveat that I am speaking from my own professional experience and my personal experience working at an alternative school. And when I say alternative school, when I'm speaking of an alternative school on this channel, I'm always speaking of the type of school that serves students who are at risk. And when I say at risk, I mean at risk of school failure and mainly dropping out of high school. And I'm always speaking of a school that is a general education school. Now, we do serve students who have IEPs or students who are in special ed, but the school itself is not a special education school. I am a special education teacher. I am a case manager. I case manage students, and those students do have what we call invisible disability, so you wouldn't be able to tell a student on an IEP from another student up in the school. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear before I start talking about some of the similarities and differences, and mainly differences between an alternative school and a typical high school. So I have some notes here from when I wrote my blog, y'all, so I might be looking down, so just bear with me on that. So I would say one of the first main differences between an alternative high school and a typical high school is the amount of students served. So for example, my school, we serve 100 students only. That's our max. And when I first started the school, I believe our max was maybe like 175 students. We maybe had like 160. Many alternative schools are small. That is one reason why many students go to an alternative school, because it's, in addition to a lot of other reasons, y'all, that I will talk about on another video, but that small setting is what many students like about an alternative school. One of the next differences between an alternative school and a typical high school is the programming. So many students will go to an alternative school to so they can accelerate like their graduation, or accelerate the credits that they earn. As I wrote in my blog, accelerating or going faster, is how students might explain it, is a bit of a misnomer. It is not really an accurate description of what's happening, because typically if you're a senior and you're at an alternative school, which does happen, you can be a senior at an alternative school, you can be a freshman, 8th grade, or whatever. You don't necessarily have to be behind on credit, but if a student is trying to accelerate their credits or go faster, they're usually behind on credits. If you're a senior, at least in my state, you can't graduate early. You can't like be like, oh, I've earned all my credits and I'm done. They're going to still require you to finish out that full senior year. So you can't go faster on credits. You'll just keep earning elective credit. So if you are behind on credits, say you need 25 credits, but you only have 15, yeah, you can go faster to get towards that 25, but you were already behind in credits in the first place. And so there are certain alternative programs that will allow students to earn credits faster. Either they're maybe doing a different type of work, maybe they're doing like online courses in addition to regular classes, or maybe it's like self-paced and you just, when you get the work done, then you get the credit. Another thing that some alternative schools offer is childcare on site. If they don't offer childcare on site, they might offer, they might work closely with a childcare center so that the teen parent can easily coordinate with a child care center off-site. There also will be like maybe support there to help the students navigate like paying for child care and the child care center and stuff like that. Maybe there's like a caseworker or something like that, or there might be a public health nurse coming in and things like that to help teen parents navigate that situation. Another thing that alternative schools, at least mine in particular, offer is additional services. So we'll have a chem health counselor on site, chemical health. We have a therapist on site, and they do work for a different program, but they are housed in the school. And then we do have these people who they're called case coordinators, who also work for that same program as the therapist and the chemical health counselor. And they serve students to help students navigate kind of the school setting and the community setting. So maybe if a student has some sort of like issues with the court system, that case coordinator will help students navigate that court system and the school system. Some other things that the alternative school might offer are how students get credit. So individual districts, like a typical high school in a particular district, gets to determine what their programming and what their academic rigor will look like. So the state will set up like, hey, students need, for example, 4 years of social study, right? Then there is no sort of like wiggle room with that, right? However, if the state says, yeah, students need 3 years of science, well, a district might decide like, well, in our district, students need 4 years of science. However, at the alternative school, especially at my school, we're going to go by whatever that state standard is for graduation and credits. So if the state says 3 years worth of science and some district says 4 years of science, we're only going to go by that 3 years worth of science. We are not tied to any specific district. Students come from their district to our school. So that kind of goes into the next thing I wanted to say. Students are able to open enroll into the alternative school. Say you live in Minneapolis, and my school's in, let's say, another city, St. Paul. You can come from Minneapolis to St. Paul to that school, to the alternative school, but you might have to find your own transportation to get to the alternative school. Another difference is we don't offer extracurricular services. So if you're interested in the arts, not art itself, art is a required course, but the arts like music, if like drama, things like that, that's not offered. The alternative school is getting you the diploma, like the bare minimum, like what you need for a diploma. The reading, writing, social studies, math, health, science. You're going to get all that, and then a plethora of electives, but you're not going to be going up in there and getting banned. Although I will say, like my first year working there, we did have a men's basketball team, and they was good, y'all, but that was just kind of like a one-off sort of thing. Because we also don't offer language, especially at my alternative school. If you need a foreign language, like if you want to go to college, we'll probably have you take an online course. One of the big things with an alternative school is our philosophy and approach to education and educating students with some unique abilities and needs. And you kind of have to work in alternative schools to understand that philosophy. It's really about thinking of students like, we know we get some of the most, the students with some of the most significant needs who don't have IEPs. And we know like when they get to us, that might be one of the last schools. You know, this might be their third, fourth, fifth school. And if they don't make it with us, they might go somewhere else, but there's a good chance they might not go anywhere else. And because of that, we're always operating with that in mind. At my school, for example, students don't get homework. There isn't homework. The only way a student get homework is if they didn't finish their work, which happens all the time. But they get classwork to do work. There is no like, we're going to send work home with you or anything like that. We do have deadlines at my school, like deadlines for work. But there are no like hard deadlines, because once again, we're always operating with students earning a diploma and credit in mind. My school, how we are similar to a typical school is like I said, students come at 8, there's a bell, you get marked for attendance. If you're not there, you're absent, you're tardy, all that similar stuff. Now another similarity is that we do have AVID at my school, so we do have college prep, and we do really encourage students to go to college. You can do PSEO, you can leave and go to college. At our school, we actually partner with colleges, and students take classes there during the day, and so we are similar to a typical high school in that way. And we really do encourage students, if you want to go to college, go to college. If you want to go to work, go to work. If you want to try an apprenticeship program, try that. We're trying all types of things so students can be college and career ready. Students can get some credit for working, and that might happen at a typical high school as well, but they might they can get like an hour off either at the beginning of the day or the end of the day for working and earn elective credit for that, and that might happen at a typical high school as well. At school, we're very similar to many high schools, as the students, our model is like a lot of direct instruction. We do have some independent study classes, but we do give a lot of direct instruction, meaning like we teach the students and then they do the work, and we find that our particular population of students prefer that method of learning versus doing like project-based. We'll do more project-based stuff during our summer school, and that does work, but that even still is infused with some direct instruction. We are a public school. We aren't a charter school, and so it operates in a very similar way as a typical high school is a public school, receiving public funds. Well, y'all, that's about it. I would say for the differences mainly, and some similarities between a typical high school and an alternative school. And if you have any questions for me about alternative school, teaching there, attending there, please feel free to ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer them for y'all. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.